Electric cars, trucks, SUVs, are you listening, man? Let Eastern Motors put you in a car today. Let Eastern Motors finance it all the way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first edition of the Saturday Night Power Hour on the Cross Commission here on YouTube. We had a whole spiel about how last week was the real week one, and then Mother Nature played havoc. Then it's actual week one, and Mother Nature's still playing havoc. But we got some interesting stuff to talk about this week, so we can say the season has started in earnest.
Long-term forecasts are calling for snow a couple weeks from, a couple Saturdays from now.
Great. We can only if we can get through next week, where we have basically everybody on board, then at least it's something, I guess.
It went pretty well, all things considered. There were good games. Mercer played, I think, what was it? What did Chris say? Above 50? Just a cool and pleasant 50-degree day.
Not too bad there in Macon.
In Macon, good win for Mercer. Beat Marist.
Yeah,
one of the better
real solid win.
One of the better non-con wins they've had. The A-Suns looked pretty feisty to start this season.
About the Dolphins out of Jacksonville, another upset bid today. But yeah, A-Suns got some spunk the first 2 weeks of the year.
A-Sun is 6-5, which is the tied fourth best record of any conference so far. Obviously ACC, the Big Ten, the Big East. Definitely talk about the Big East with Nova later, and then A-Suns at 6-5, and the Patriot League's at 6-5. So, but I thought it went. I thought it went well, all things considered. There were good games. Couple really good games. The early window with Carolina, Jacksonville. Then you had an upset with Villanova and Penn State. Some goals. I thought streaming-wise, everything, considering it was indoors. I mean, that Rutgers-Army one-camera stream was pretty vertigo-inducing. But listen, they got through it. It didn't break down at any point. So
you take what you get at the bubbles.
Yeah, you take what you get there. The Maryland one was really good. I thought, shout out to all the people with the Terps. It really was no different than it would have been outdoors, I thought. I mean, it's a little different. It's the old Cole Fieldhouse, so it's, different than like a bubble. It's an actual indoor kind of facility, basically. But I thought that one was really good. So, all things considered, they got we still had RIP Georgetown Hop, or maybe, on life support at this point. That was unfortunate. If we had that game, I think it would have rounded out things really nicely. But I thought it was a pretty good, pretty decent, week, all things considered, with all the postponements and rescheduling and another weekend of tough weather. I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah, major upset, close games. Syracuse popped off Ryan offensively.
Yeah,
happy with that. Maryland as well, Jake. It's like, I know I've been pushing the echoes of 2022 meme pretty heavy, but I was like, yeah. Compared to the 2022 game, I think they beat Loyola. What was that?
20-8. 20-8, I think. Yeah.
And this is 19-10, and two of those goals were kind of given up after Vocal left. So
19 is the most goals they have scored since they scored 21 against Vermont in the first round in 2022. So most goals in 3+ years for the Terps. Or hang on, how many did they have against Richmond in 23? Yeah, no, Richmond 23. I remember that one. They scored 15. So a lot of goals.
But the by the way, if you're new to the Power Hour, we're the Cross Commission. I'm Ryan. Up there is Jake. Up there is Safe. And every Saturday we will go around the games of the day. And give us our insight. There's our names. And give us our give you our insight into it. We do it. We aim to do it in about an hour. So give us about 75 minutes of your time, and we'll get you through the day's happenings in college lacrosse. Who do we have on timer duty this week?
I can do it.
All righty, sounds good.
Ryan,
So,
before we do that, what should the people listening do?
Well, as Jake smashes that timer, you should be smashing that like button and clicking and hitting the subscribe. And just like we have an alarm, hit that alarm icon on your screen to let you know when we go live.
All right. There you go. Don't hit subscribe. Don't hit subscribe if you're already subscribed.
Yeah, because then you unsubscribe. Then you're going to have to hit subscribe again.
If you're not subscribed, though, hit subscribe. All right. Off to a great start. All right, let's do it. 1 hour is on the clock. Ryan, get us underway.
All righty. So our first big upset of the year, everybody's favorite 16th to 20th place team, Villanova, comes out with the first big surprise of the season. They head into the bubble in University Park, and they come away with a victory, 14-13 over Penn State in overtime, in a game that very wild fourth quarter in overtime where it seemed like nobody could stop one another. So just body blow, just trading haymakers, never mind body blows, haymakers with one another at the end of that fourth quarter. All leads to Villanova coming up with a big upset. For Penn State, continues the trend of some early season whoppers. I guess if there's one thing to take heart if you're a Nittany Lion fan, this has happened before. Think back to when they lost to Colgate a couple of years ago in the first game of the season, everything.
If you really want to be the optimistic view, in 2023, they did lose to Villanova. Week 2, and obviously went on to make the Final Four. So
not too early. Yeah, not necessarily time to hit the panic button if you're a Nittany Lion fan just yet, but that's 2 straight weeks where the Lions have been. But for Villanova, I mean, we were discussing it all day. Big East, not a shabby start to this season whatsoever. I mean, obviously Georgetown hasn't been able to get their games in just yet because of all the chaos with scheduling, but Denver looking good. Denver looking really good. I mean, they how many goals combined have they allowed at this point? 4, I think.
3. Denver's given up 3 goals in 120 minutes of lacrosse so far.
Yeah. Providence with a good win today.
Yesterday.
And Villanova with a big win. So Wildcats take the win here. Do we chalk this up to bubble weirdness, or that might be something here with Villanova and again with Penn State, bubble weirdness, or are we starting to see some concerns after these first 2 games for Penn State?
That number 20 spot just calls out to Villanova like the Green Goblin mask. Like you gotta. It's like you gotta come home. For first poll of the year, and Villanova's just gonna slide right in there. Maybe it'll be higher than 20, but that's their home, man. That's what's going on. It's easy to forget. I mean, they weren't bad last year. They were 8-7. You know, they're just very, very Nova-ish, and they catch you by surprise. But I mean, just an early season Villanova upset is pretty. It's kind of tradition, isn't it? They beat Yale a couple years ago. Obviously beat Penn State in 23. Right before COVID happened, they beat Maryland on a midweek in 2020. I mean, it's kind of what they do.
I was going to say, especially this series, it's even though they're not like right next to each other, this is kind of a rivalry series, especially with just the players, because so many come from the Philly mainline area that, they probably been playing with each other for years prior to being in college. And even though, Penn State's have definitely had more postseason success, like this series is pretty tight. Like I know overall it hasn't been, but over the last 4 years, like I think Nova won 22 and 23, Penn State won 24 and 25 pretty handedly last year. But then, this year in the bubble, probably, as Ryan noted, like and we have in the chat, just the dimensions, and it's just different playing in a bubble than it is outside. But also just like, I think Nova, amps up when they play Penn State. So, it's not a surprising thing. Again, kind of with Nova, that sometimes they like come out the gate screaming and then like maybe tail off at the end, or, there's at least one notable upset win. So, right on schedule, Villanova, in the top 20 conversation and top 10, top 15 scalp on their hands. So.
I think for Penn State, it's kind of you can pick your narrative from this one. If you were someone who's high on Penn State, look, I picked them to make the Final Four, so certainly I had my hopes for them. I think there's reason still to be optimistic about what this team could be long term. You obviously can point to, listen, it's not uncommon for Penn State to drop an early game early in the season. I think it's definitely probably weird having to play in a bubble 2 weeks in a row. Listen, it's just they've done it before. It's not like they're not used to playing indoors, but it's still a little weird, I think. But yeah, this has happened to them before, the part of it. So you can easily kind of chalk that up and be like, by the end, I think they'll be fine. I think they probably will be. Look, they got to go to Princeton next week, which is going to be, challenging for sure. Princeton will be raring to go with their first game. They probably should have a good crowd there if the weather cooperates. So, it doesn't get any easier for them, certainly, by next week. But I still think there's positive things you can take. I like what they have offensively. They got a lot of young guys who are featuring, and I think playing pretty well. Jack Iantuono had a really nice goal and he had 3 assists. Aquino had a good day. Chase Robertson coming over from Utah, I believe, had a hat trick. So they have, they had like 8 different guys score goals. I think they have pieces there that the offense, which has played well through 2 weeks, it can be pretty good. On the flip side, if you're someone who was skeptical of Penn State and thought they might regress, I think you have ammunition to feel like your position is kind of invalidated. This goalie play was the obvious. Look, one, they lost, so that's ammunition itself. But goalie play was the kind of concern. Jack Frasian was not great for Penn State a year ago, though you could always point to that he was experienced and he had been in a bunch of big games. And now you're in the position of replacing a guy who was a 4-year starter at goalie, and it hasn't been great through 2 weeks. Hawkins saved 36% today, which it should be noted was still better than Fargione in goal for Nova, who only made 5 saves. So this was certainly one of those, goalie bubble type games. But goalie play is the obvious trouble spot that they have. And it hasn't, that was kind of the one thing, if you looked at it like going into the year, what was the concern? It was the goalie play. They've got a really good offense. They've got strong pieces on defense with Alex Ross, obviously, a good rope unit, King and Larry. Face-off play, really strong. But goalie play was kind of the one you want to point at, and it hadn't been great. So I think it's just a bad day at the office is kind of my feeling on it. It can happen, but certainly it's not what you want. And again, if you're someone who, if you came at the position of Penn State of being skeptical about what they could achieve, and maybe thinking that their ceiling was kind of lower than perhaps their ranking indicated, you wouldn't be, no one could blame you for kind of coming away feeling like you've got some early season validation. And we'll see. Their schedule, I think, thankfully for them, does kind of, it's difficult, but it's kind of broken up enough to where I think they could maybe work through some things. Look, going to Princeton is going to be very difficult. Then they go play Navy after that. It's in Annapolis, but still it's a game they'd be expected to win. Then they're back home for Yale and Cornell. So they'll get 2 home opportunities there in big games. And then after that, it gets tough. They got Carolina. They got a stretch of Cornell, Carolina, Maryland, Ohio State in March. So that's going to be challenging, probably define their season in some ways. But, before then, I think they have opportunities to kind of work things out, though obviously next week, Gil asked, didn't get to watch much of this one. Was it goalie problems again or a more structural defensive issue? I mean, I don't think the defense necessarily covered itself in glory. I don't think it was great per se, but I do think there was certainly, I mean, there was towards the end in that fourth quarter, I mean, when you thought they had it won, we didn't mention it. Penn State was up 12-9 in this game.
Yeah, that was the thing. In the beginning of the fourth quarter, it looked like Penn State was pulling away, and
the speed
Villanova came
of
right back
the
in.
collapse was kind of startling. I mean, that's the one. It's like it wasn't like Nova had multiple goal runs. They had the 3-goal run from the first to the second. It was within like 4 minutes, but this was like 4 goals from the 5:49 mark to the 2:44 mark. It was just like kind of like astonishing to watch. I just remember last year when Penn State pulled that on Cornell. It was one more goal that they did on Cornell in the fourth. But yeah, just kind of a disconcerting collapse in the fourth quarter there.
Yeah, and I think that's the big concern I have with Penn State right now is, at least in the short term. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit with the games this week about, the teams that had sea legs that had a game in already versus the teams that this was their first go around. Next week against Princeton, they've already got 2 games under their belt while it's Princeton's first go around. So that's advantage Penn State, right? The issue is they gave up a lot to Colgate last week. And then that fourth quarter against Nova this week. I don't know if Princeton's not, I mean, I shouldn't say that given Princeton's last game was the game where this happened, but Princeton's not exactly the team you can just outscore your way out of trouble against. So in the short term, I mean, that's going to be very interesting to see next week, to see if them having 2 games under the belt is going to be a big help when they're going up against one of the most potent offenses in the nation, given the returns the past 2 weeks. But that is something that's it's starting to look a little bit like a trend where they got to fix that up before Big Ten play. Because I know the Big Ten is more of a defensive league, so that should help. But, it's been a bit, as I said at the beginning, with that defense the first 2 weeks. And this go around, they weren't able to outscore their way out of the issue that popped up in the fourth quarter.
I mean, look, they've got Schreiner played the first half last week and made 4 stops, I think, and then Hawkins came in and he made 1 stop. They've got, how many saves did I say they had today? 8. They've got 13 saves in 2 games. You want 13 saves in 1 game, But I think that kind of says it. 22 shots allowed is not. That's not a ton, I think that's reasonable what you consider. I think the answer to Gil's, get back to Gil's question. I think that the defense played pretty well for most of the game. It'd be around 9 is around what you'd expect, and then it all just kind of fell apart in that fourth quarter, which is not great, but what happened? I think the concerning thing is you wonder, like, should it have been 9 goals after 3 quarters, or should it have been, considering, the shots they were giving up, the shot quality should have been closer to 6 or 7. So I think that the rope unit may not be as deep as it's been, but I still like what they got there with King, and Leary. Maybe you could point to some concerns with their polls behind Alex Ross, but you still got a guy like him. You got a first-team All-American in there, that kind of caliber of player. So I think, to me, I think the goalie thing is the sort of concerning about it. And I mean, maybe you could say, having 9 through, they caused 10 turnovers. It's not bad by any means. Shot 32%. Only, maybe you could look offensively. They put 18 of 40 on cage. I mean, it's not bad, but maybe you'd want a little bit better there. 20 turnovers is pretty. That's hard to kind of overlook. Is turn the ball over 20 times, which again, I think gets you into kind of, feeling like, okay, it was just a bad day at the office. And look, it should be mentioned with the goalie issue, like having your first starts or first game action being in the bubble as a goalie is probably not what you want. I think sometimes maybe the bubble thing can be a bit overstated with certain goalies. Like we saw in the Army Rutgers game, I thought both goalies played really well in that game. Though you could argue maybe we're statistically a little bit below what you normally expect out of them. But yeah, I mean, if it's your first game action, it's probably not great. I don't know. I think we'll know more about this team, in a couple weeks. I mean, if they go out to Princeton and they give up 15 or 16 or more than that, it might be trouble. If Penn State wants that game to be a bit more of a, I mean, I don't think Penn State would complain about it being a track meet, just because, to Ryan's point, I think Princeton kind of has this issue that they play more track meets than they really ought to play. I don't think Princeton needs to be trying to score 20 goals to beat people, because I think when you have a great goalie and you have some of the guys they have in the defensive midfield, I think you can beat teams 14-10 as opposed to trying to beat them 18-14. So I think that's what I complain about it. But Princeton's type of game, or Penn State's type of game rather, I think would be a bit more maybe structured, more physical. So we'll see. Yeah, if they go there and Princeton blows the doors off them, we got problems. I think if they can go in there and the offense can kind of do what it does, clean some things up, and they play a competitive game, I think maybe this will be one that we look back on. And then I think the Navy game maybe in a couple weeks will tell it as well. They'll be outdoors ideally. That's a game they should win. Can they cover? And kind of that one. So I'm not selling my stock yet. I think there are obvious concerns that may leave you a little worried, but I'm not going to totally sell all my my Nittany Lion stock just yet.
Flip side though, before we wrap up with this though, we buying in on Villanova and the Big East for that matter.
How are you defining buying in? How much? Like, to buy in? What do I have to give up? What am I? What does buying in mean exactly?
I don't know.
Awesome. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really help me much.
Winning the Big East.
Are they getting
if you had a gauge 1 to 100, how much does make you feel the win the Big East?
Win the Big East? No,
they just
I'm not buying.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you get 0. 0.1%.
No, I'm not buying them winning the Big East. Are you serious?
Yeah, I think if they start out 6-1 or 7-0, yeah, I'll buy some shares.
I would have to buy them winning. I mean, let's lower the 7. To buy them like winning the Big East, I would have to be there in person, watch them beat Georgetown, write a whole newspaper article. Shout out the Washington Post. You guys are the legends. Write a whole article on it, stamp it, send it in the mail, and then I would buy that they won the Big East. All right, how about this? Will I, on a gauge 1 to 100, that they are the second best team in the Big East, I would give you 30-40. I think Denver is better. I have Denver stocks, so that's why I'm not gonna go too. But like 30, second best team in the Big East, I'd go like 30-40 out of 100.
Yeah, so I mean that's what they were last year essentially, right? They lost the Big East championship game to Georgetown. Obviously, they got walloped.
Yeah, but I think the promising thing for them. Here's what I'll say. This was a really good offensive performance, and offense always used to be Villanova's like calling card, was that they had really talented guys on offense, and they were a really tough matchup to play with. A lot of the problems they could pose you with the guys they had on offense. They could invert a lot. They could attack you with 2-man games behind the cage and things like that. The offense of Villanova has been on a steep decline like the past 4 seasons. In 2021, they were the 8th best offense in the country per offensive efficiency. In 2022, it dropped to 21. In 23, it dropped to 31. In 24, it dropped to 47. And in 25, it dropped to 51st. The fact that they were still reasonably decent despite all that, I think, gives you an idea of either it's a testament to the coaching staff and all that, or maybe it's just, I don't know, they're like entropy or something. They just find a way to claw to like 8 and 7. If the offense for Villanova can be back up to that kind of level, then I think you might have something. I think you might have a real tricky out, because that's just who they are. Like, that's their, as a program. I mean, they've had some decent defenses, like they were 15th in 2024, but overall, Villanova since 2015 has been top 20 in defense 2 times. They've been top 10 in offense 3 different times, including the COVID year, if you count that. It'd be 4. Like from 2016 to 2022, 6th, 5th, 16th, 25th, 7th, 8th, 21st. There are a lot of good players in those teams. That was a part of it. Connor Kirst, the Fraccheros, Devin McNamara, Christian Cuccinello, a bunch of those guys. So I think that's promising. If their offense can kind of get back to the level you expected in the past, that'd be a promising sign. But yeah, I mean, the league's off to a really start. And look, it should be said, it was needed. The league was awful last year. Georgetown didn't beat a single top 20 team in Big East play. Like, there was no, like, I don't know if there were any other top 30 teams in the league besides Georgetown. The league was really bad last year. So this kind of rebound is, frankly, just really needed. And promising start. I think we need a little more. There you go. Buying the Big East. That's a more interesting.
Buying the Big East, I think, is a better question.
Are you buying the Big East, Ryan?
I think I might take a little speculative stock buying, get it a little low, sell it if it dips.
Daniel Plainview. Just like digging for oil, prospector.
The stock's at $15. I'll take a little. I'll buy a few stock on that. See if it goes high. If it starts, losing a little bit, sell it at like $11. Lose a little bit of money off of it, but nothing too big. But if it shoots up to like a $30 stock, then hey, I'm making a bit of a profit for my Roth IRA.
What's this? Why don't I own this? Why don't I own this? Yeah, I mean, I made that. I'll just answer so you can clean up, Jake. Yeah, I mean, I put Denver as my sleeper team for the year. Georgetown was already in my Final Four. I obviously love Providence. Shout out to Bobby Benson. Good to see them jump out to 2-0 start. Yeah, it's obviously a rebound. I'll buy that for sure. A better start than they had last year, and their best team ostensibly hasn't even had one face-off yet. So there's should be more good news to come if Georgetown does what we think it's going to do. So yeah, I mean, Big East is back as definitely as a competent conference, replacement level conference.
I'll go, and then we can move on. There are a couple games. If Providence beats Harvard next week, because Providence started 2-0 last year, and then they won like 2 of their next 9 games. If Providence beats Harvard,
it's a hard 2-9 though.
If Providence can beat Harvard next week, and/or Villanova can beat Rutgers in about 2 weeks, maybe then I will start to. I'll start to think, okay, maybe this is a conference that's got some real potential. The big one will probably be Denver against Cornell in a couple weeks, just to see if Denver's a serious top 20 threat around that top 10 mix. So it's intriguing to start, but I need a little more time to marinate before I buy in.
Of course, the big test will be tomorrow during the Super Bowl. St. John's taking on NJIT at Mount Olive High School in New Jersey. The second half will be during the first quarter of the Super Bowl.
It's like the only other sporting event going on in the world.
Counter programming, it may work.
At a high school in New Jersey.
Listen, Giants aren't in it. Neither are Jets.
Also had another upset bid out of the Jacksonville Dolphins. They took Rutgers to overtime last week. This time, nearly do it again against UNC. North Carolina with a it's always an adventure with the North Carolina Tar Heels, and this one was an adventure, to say the least. But we're able to close it out there at the last 3 minutes or so of the game, get themselves to survive with an 11-10 victory. I think I know where this one's going, is that Duffy and Petromala solved quite a bit, which might be the blueprint for quite a few defenses that have UNC on their calendar later in the year.
Yeah. Combined 2 assists, 4 turnovers. Petro shot 0 for 7, I want to say.
Yes. Definitely 0 for 5.
So 0 for 12, 0 for 12 shooting, 4 turnovers, 2 assists. Pretty wild.
That's a plus or minus to that.
I mean, I'd love to know how many times neither of them have scored a goal in their games they played together. I feel like it's got to be under 3. Anybody in the chat, there's your challenge. Go find out how many times Duffy and Petro have been held both scoreless for UNC.
There's 2 ways to look at this, right? I was like, yes. I may be a UNC apologist. Shout out to Joe the Boss. We've said that, somebody else has got to step up. Like this should have been a loss.
Should it have been?
I mean, like your 2 star players are 0 for 12 with 4 combined turnovers. The opposing goalie has 15 saves.
UNC's got more 5-stars.
Exactly.
They got more 5-stars fetching water for Duffy than Jacksonville does.
And similar to Penn State, they were kind of pulled away.
We were just praising them last week for maybe Rutgers didn't as season. So
a lot of praise for Jacksonville.
So just saying, better than on paper opponent, especially like the spread. The horrible day at the office for your 2 stars and the 4 combined turnovers. And it's good to see other people step up to this. Like I said, this could have been a loss. It's had all the hall makings of one.
That's where I'll disagrray. It could have been a loss. I don't think there's any scenario where this should have been a loss.
Well, I just meant the facts that happened today with at the beginning of the game, it should not have been a loss. But the way Jacksonville played and the way how their stars were played,
this to me gets to the crux of the issue. If you're discussing UNC, if Syracuse's 2 best players, let's say Joey Spallina and Michael Leo, go combined for 2 assists, I would think Syracuse could still score 15 goals. I would still think Syracuse could win. If Eric Spanos and Braden Urksa didn't have a goal today. He had 4 assists. If him and Eric Spanos didn't have a goal, I think Maryland could still beat Jacksonville by 5 or 6. To me, the way I guess I look at this is, our conversation is not, if Duffy and Petro don't play well, can UNC beat Jacksonville by a goal at home? It's, if they don't play well, can UNC still get to the Final Four? And today, at least, for 1 week, the answer to that, I feel like, is no. Look, there were definitely some guys who played well. I mean, Suchek had 2 goals and 2 assists. Brevin Wilson had a hat trick. That's good. It should be noted that they had, I feel like, 3 or 4 transition goals in this game, plus a man-up goal. The number of goals they scored in settled 6-on-6 was not high. It might be, again, it was half a dozen, 7, maybe, in the settled 6-on-6. Now, the transition is good, and that's what UNC does. And it's always good to see UNC having transition, but I mean, it shot 11 of 42, 26%, which obviously, Duffy and Petro contribute in that. But what do you say? They had 12 shots.
28% of the shot. That's what we were talking about in the preseason. Was other dudes that North Carolina have to shoot. We were joking around about looking at the shooting percentage. Like these guys are like 40-50%. They just need to shoot more. And I was like, if Duffy and Petro took like, good point with Braden Erska and Spanos. They did light up the scoring, but like Braden only took like one shot, and he found things. It's like if it wasn't going to be Petro's day, you know what I'm saying? Like taking a shot and then finding somebody, or like I think like. If 4 of those shots went to Ty English, or 4 of those shots went to Mason Skirts, like that's UNC is probably winning by 3 or 4 because just like
there you go. I guess that's the.
I think it's like they got like listen, they're both stars and they're amazing players, so they'll shoot their way out of a bad one gamer. But yeah, that's what I'm saying is like more guys on the team have to take shots besides Petro, young Petro and Duffy. And again, not to slight those, just like. You do have people capable to score and or have pretty good shot percentage. Like they need to eat more, and I think that balance of shots, like can't have 2 guys take nearly 29% of your shots and go double bagel for both of them.
So the starting attack has 3 goals combined. Brevin Wilson has all of them. The first midfield has 4 goals combined. Pretty good. The first midfield, I think, encouraging. That all freshman second midi unit, nothing. We'll see on that. I'm not sure. I feel like maybe you want to mix some of those other guys in with the first midfield and kind of mix those lines up. Maybe they will by the end. Probably will at some point. Then you had Hagerup, transition goal. In there. Wilson had like 3 goals. 2 of them, I think, were kind of around like transition kind of opportunities. Ty English had 2. Is Ty English still their best midfielder?
He's a 2 for 2. Brevin was 3 for 4. Like I'm just saying, like if he's got like 3 more shots each, that's like probably 2 to 3 more goals.
Ty English went back to short stick D midi, and I think he still might be their best offensive midfielder.
You can say, I don't know about best, but you can say most potent.
I think he probably is still their best offensive midfielder. So look, it's one game. Duffy and Petro are going to go back out there against High Point and Iona in the next couple of days, and obviously light the scoreboard up. But I don't know. It didn't blow me away. Look, the game as itself was horribly sloppy. From both teams. UNC, very undisciplined. They went off sides like 3 times in the first quarter. And they played UNC defense, which encompasses a range of thoughts. One of those thoughts is they kind of play like the 2013 Seattle Seahawks and like, well, they can't call everything. And, that first penalty they took, like in the first possession of the game, I think there were like 6 different slashes, and the refs called 1. So, different things you definitely would expect them to clean up. They'll be more disciplined. The stick work, will be improved. Again, the transition was good. But I think, we'll see. So here's what I'll admit. I come at this from this perspective. And I could be very wrong on this, and my preconceived notions could be clouding my judgment. UNC in, I would say, the second part of the Brescia area feels like 2 distinct periods. There's the first period from 2009 through, honestly, you could maybe argue 2009 through 2015, but we'll include 2016 obviously because that's when they win the national title. And then there's everything after that. And in the second part of the Brescia era, I rarely feel like UNC gets better over the course of a season. I feel like they're either awesome from the jump, the way they were in 2021, or they are pretty good and they finish pretty good or maybe a step below that. And I do think the records kind of bear that out to me. From 2009 to 2016, UNC was 33-22 in April and May. Won about 60% of their games in the last 2 months of the season. And one of the critiques of Brescia at that time was, that his teams didn't win enough later in the year. In truth, that was really just they usually lost in the quarterfinals. It's kind of one game. Like 33-22 again. In the last 2 months, that's really dang good. Since 2017, UNC is 15-27 in April and May. And since 2022, after the last Final Four, it's 5-14. So this is, I guess, kind of where the perspective I come at it from is I kind of struggle with envisioning them being a much better team. And they could be. I could be wrong. They have young guys on offense. That freshman midi line could really emerge late. Josh Marcus, the freshman in goal, I thought was fine today. By the end, he could really be a stud for them. And it could be a much different kind of picture with this team. I guess I sort of struggle with that. I rarely see that. And so when I see them kind of struggle early, I'm a little more, I feel like I react more than I would maybe with another team. But I could be wrong. And it could be my bias kind of showing there. But I feel like we should talk about Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Because I thought they played and it's tough. It sucks to be really close to beating 2 top 20 teams and not closing the door. As we always say here, there are no moral victories in lacrosse. Coffee is for closers. But I think a real trend that you've seen early in this season is that the toughest thing for a team in the mid-major level to do is to, when they're playing an elite team, is to try and stop the run. Lacrosse is a game of runs, as Ronald mentioned. Every time you see these mid-major teams play against these top-notch ACC Big Ten opponents, that team is going to have a run in them. They're going to go on a 3, 4, 5 something go run. It's how do you keep that run as short as possible? Like Duke Utah last night. Utah in the first, third, and fourth quarters basically played that game to a tie. The problem is Duke scored 5 goals in a row at the start of the second quarter, and the game is basically over. That was it. They could never get back in it. Loyola was really close with Maryland today for about almost a half. And then Maryland scored 12 goals in a row, and they played make it take it, and the game was over. A big part of this, I think, is that
I would even say BU last week, they were hanging with Syracuse the first quarter, and then Cuse went on that run, that late goal in the second quarter, and couldn't come back from them.
And I think a big part of this is twofold. One, it's the faceoffs. You really see the faceoff disparities kind of in this matchup. And I think a lot of people probably would have thought that this game would have had that with Freddie Wambach. But Jacksonville at the faceoff dot through 2 weeks has been tremendous. Really successful against Rutgers, and then Ripien won 12 of 23 today against Freddie Wambach. To Wambach's credit, he won the last 3 huge faceoffs. Jacksonville had the ball, man up, down 1, he won the faceoff. He scored to put UNC in the lead. Jacksonville then tied it at 10. Wambach won the faceoff for UNC to take the lead. Even more crucially, at 11-10, he won the faceoff again, and that kind of took the life out of it for Jacksonville. But faceoffs is a big part of it. Cuse with John Mullen. Mullen just gets on a run there, and that's kind of it. Maryland did it today. That's a big part of it. You need a guy against these elite face-off guys to just give you a chance. Just keep you. Don't let them play make it, take it, and your offense doesn't touch the ball for 5 minutes. Secondly, though, it's the defenses. There's lots of teams with great offenses in college lacrosse. I think there are more teams that have, as you would say, replacement level or above offenses than there are teams that have replacement level or above defenses, really good defenses. A really good defense is hard to come by, and I think Jacksonville might have a really good defense. I mean, they played UNC physical. They were physical on the ball. I mean, they really were on UNC. They were on Duffy. They were on Petra. They came to play. And early on in that game, they did not slide to UNC's middies, which I was ooh, I don't know about that. They were really slow to slide. They turned out to be right. They trusted their shorties, and it allowed them, when they did double teams, to be really physical. And this is, to Gil's point here, that this is the kind of formula you need if you're gonna try and Gil also mentions, their goalie Ryan De La Rocca was fantastic. You also goalie and faceoff, huge. If you're going to upset a team in the NCAA tournament, pull off a big upset, you're probably not going to do it by scoring 16 goals. You're probably going to do it winning 12-10. Games tend to be, tighter in the playoffs. And against, it's real. Are you going to outscore Princeton? No. If you're Jacksonville, you're not going to outscore Princeton. Or if you're Utah, are you going to outscore Duke? No. Not really. But can you get in a close game like this, and if you can get stops and you can win faceoffs, that's a formula. That's a formula that can travel, as they would say in football. Like, a great defense can travel. That's the formula that you can win a lot of games with. If they can keep getting this goalie play from Del Rocco, assisting with these faceoff plays, and they play really tough defense. That's a formula that's going to, one, obviously really help them in the A-Sun. But if they can, get towards the potential NCAA tournament, or we'll see. I mean, they play Duke in a couple weeks. It's another opportunity there. They play Navy on March 10th. We'll see if Navy's in that kind of class. But yeah, I really feel this is the most. Jacksonville's had some good teams, but this is the most I felt like they really are a threat to some of these top teams with that formula they have.
All right, let's go on to our next game. So, Patriot League got a little bit of a up and down week one, but they get a feather in their cap today with Army beating Rutgers 11-9. This one was pretty close the whole way through. Black Knights come away with the victory when all is said and done. Hello. I'm at a place called Vertigo. But yeah, Black Knights get a big win there to get things rolling for them. What is the current streak against Rutgers? Army is 2-0. They got that win against UMass. Let me see. That's 3-4.
I think Adam said it's like
4-game winning streak. 2022 is the last time Rutgers.
Yeah. What is it? What was it before? When's the last time Rutgers won before 2022? Because these teams have played. They play like every year. I think Adam said in our chat it's like 7 of the last 8.
They did not play in 2021. They did win in 2020. They won in 2019. They won in 2018. They lost in 2017.
So Rutgers has only beat them twice since 2017.
That is correct.
Damn.
Yep.
That's tough.
So Army heads down Route 17 and pulls it off. Again.
Yeah, they did do 3 or 4. So if we're going from 2014 to now, they've won 4 times. So
it's not.
They have
not gonna cut it. Not gonna cut it.
Not gonna cut it. Last 10 years, only won 2 games yet.
I'll let safe. I mean, Rutgers. I don't want to, be too much of a Debbie Downer, but this was a big one. They kind of needed. So I'll let safe go.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of said it's kind of barometer for Rutgers we found for years past that they able to obviously that 2022 season Rutgers maybe would have had a even better chance. I'm thinking of like I guess they look at it again. Yeah, 2022, maybe the 2021 where it was like the Big Ten only, just because that was peak Rutgers. Maybe Rutgers would have had another one there. But yeah, this is kind of the game that you can kind of tell like if Rutgers going to potentially be a tournament team, even if their losses haven't always been of the blowout nature. These last 2 years prior to this game, Army did kind of spank them 9-3 and then 16-7 in 2024. So
and Ryan, not case, but Ryan, you said Rutgers won in 16 and 17, right?
They won in 16. Let me get the research back out.
Yeah, okay. So they won. So Rutgers,
they won in 17. Let me see if they won in 16. They did win.
Yeah,
in 16.
They won 16.
Won in 16.
So they won in 16, 17, 22. I think if you ask most people, what is Rutgers' 3 best teams?
Yeah.
16, 7, 21 be the other one, but they didn't play. I think they probably would have been that year. So Rutgers' best teams in the past decade would be 16, 17, 21, 22. They beat Army 3 of those times. Haven't beat them any other time. I think what Safe said, I'll let him continue, about barometer feels very, very accurate.
Yeah, if you're thinking like, is Rutgers going to be a tournament team or in that discussion seriously? Yeah, you could say like, oh, did they beat Army? Or if you could see that game, if they beat Army, then yeah, it's kind of almost like Groundhog. If he sees the shadow or not, it's going to determine how much longer a winner is. If Rutgers beats Army, then yeah, they have a pretty good shot at making the tournament. Just as Army's has a pretty good run of success, like getting double-digit wins. So Rutgers being able to beat them is kind of like a good sign of like potentially making a tournament. That's, again, as we said, like doesn't mean they're totally foreclosed to possibly making a tournament. But yeah, I mean, the only times they have made a tournament are 21 and 2022. Obviously, Rutgers fans maybe feel 2016 team definitely was a tournament caliber team. But if we're now going to buy shares, as we said, buying or selling Rutgers tournament chances, like would be a reason to maybe sell those shares or short sell it. So I don't think it's going to be like I said, a final determination of how this team does. But if this was we always say bites at the apples. Like this was a really good chance. They were up 7-5 at halftime. Like I didn't kind of watch too much of the streams, poor quality, and pay attention to other games like the UNC game. But I think it's not what you want to see if you're a Rutgers fan. Like 2 goals in the second half, 1 per quarter is not ideal. And this was like right there for them. We said the 7-5 lead, even when Army took their run. Rutgers tied it up at 8. Going into the fourth quarter, and then actually took a lead 9-8 with Cordelia's goal. About 14 minutes. But from there on, at least on the goal line, in terms of goals, it's like the all Army show going 3-goal-1 to seal the deal, and it's just Rutgers probably will look back and be like kind of a missed opportunity. More because we always say it's like not just that you beat that team that you beat is if they're good, they could potentially beat others. Army has had good non-conference success the last 3 years. If Rutgers could have stole one here, then Army success later on would benefit Rutgers in terms of tournament chances. So again, not the end of the road, but just missed opportunity.
I think this is just more kind of an early season measuring stick for most programs. I don't think this game makes or breaks either team's tournament chances when all said and done, because Army has to. Yeah,
we always hate doing this discussion for every 7th. I'll keep it quick just so we're aware, because this was a big game. Rutgers has one other team in non-conference that's a good team, and they play Princeton. That's just it. Like, I
think Rutgers.
They need to be, honestly, I'll put it. They need to be Princeton or Maryland this year.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers didn't really have that much of a path to an at-large to begin with, and I don't think Army moves the needle when all is said and done anyway, because Army has a very bad habit of collapsing in April and May. So, but
it would have been there would have been still like a decent RPI. Army's pretty much guarantees not guarantee, but they're probably going to 15 13 RPI.
It was one of 2 opportunities they have in non-conference, and they missed one of them. And the other opportunity is, you would argue, are they on? They're on the road at Princeton, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not great. I think the tough thing for Rutgers is that, in addition to all that, which we can leave there, I feel like these 2 teams are very much kind of mirror images of each other. They feel very similar in the kind of how they're built. They both have great goalies, Sean Byrne, Carden Stoller. They both have a great spine. I feel like good defenses, terrific short stick D-midi units. I think Rutgers particularly. Both teams are not exactly going to push in transition a lot. Rutgers is really not the kind of up and down team that they were 5-6 years ago. I do think part of that is because they just can't really seem to find stable success at the faceoff dot, and so it becomes hard. If you don't win faceoffs, it becomes really hard to push transition. And when Rutgers made their name off that, the NASCAR thing, everything like that, they had Joe Nardella, who's one of the 3 best faceoff guys in the world. So it's since he left, it's been hard for them to really find stable, consistent faceoff success. Both teams have one great offensive player. Rutgers has Colin Cordilla and Army has Hill Plunkett. The problem for Rutgers, where I think you feel this one, is that Cordilla was great for Rutgers today. I thought he had a hat trick. All 3 of his goals were really unassisted, just kind of him doing his own thing. The problem is, after him, 6 goals from your next 4 players: Zeller, Vorgang, Mongillo, Murphy. 6 goals from 4 guys. Plunkett for Army had 2 goals. Hill Plunkett, that is. His brother Evan had 3 assists. But after Plunkett, Army gets 9 goals from their other pieces. Gunnar Fellows had a great game. He had 4 goals. 2 goals from Cal Lambert. Wiesenborn had 1. Tyler Clark had 2 goals and an assist. So it's like this was beating Army, I feel like, would be proof of concept for what Rutgers wants to be, being this really physical, grinded out defensive team that kind of relies on having an elite player in Cardilla, and then everyone else can kind of just chip in behind him. I feel like it would have been not just a barometer, but like, this is who we are and this is how we're going to win games. The fact you couldn't pull it out kind of feels like Army just beat you at your own game, basically. It's kind of, and I think that's a tough pill to kind of swallow. And I think it's going to have to me think, like, how else can we, part of the reason I was high on Rutgers coming into this year, and part of the reason I was high on them was they had Cardilla, who's an All-American type level player, but a bunch of other guys behind him who showed some flashes last year, that such as JJ Aiello, who hasn't really featured yet, Hayden Sommer, who was their leading assist guy last year, he's been here and there, Murphy and Zell, like guys who I felt like were primed to maybe take a leap, and haven't seen that so far. Again, it's early, and so maybe they can, be in that mix for them later in the year. But I think that's the tough thing for Rutgers, is that Army just sort of beat them at what Rutgers wants to be this year. And I think that means a hat tip to Army. This was a very vintage Army win. This is kind of what Army recently has kind of become more of a high-powered offensive team with all the, great guys they have on that side of the field. And they still have, Fellows, good player, Hill Plunkett, very good. Evan Plunkett was an All-American a couple years ago. But this was more traditional Army. Great defense, really strong goalie play from Sean Byrne, just kind of gutted it out. And maybe that's a good thing for them long term. Maybe that's kind of what Army needs. I think we all kind of feel like it's going to be more of a dogfight for them this year throughout the season. Their season is probably really just going to be defined by, can they win the Patriot League? And maybe that's what they need come Patriot League tournament plays, to be able to kind of grind these games out and win it 11-9 in that kind of way. But look, impressive win. I mean, it continues for Army this tremendous kind of success that they've had of late against Army, against the top 4 leagues. Army has not lost a game to a Big Ten, ACC, or Ivy League opponent since 2013. They've beaten Rutgers 3 years, or like 4 years in a row, as we talked about. They've beaten UNC in back-to-back years.
Maryland in tournament.
Maryland in the tournament 23. Yeah, they beat Cuse in 24. So now, as we've talked about a bunch, that's not been their problem. Their problem has been the last, kind of 2 weekends, or last weekend in April, first
like
weekend.
Holy Cross.
BU.
Yeah, there's been the Patriot League has been their Achilles heel.
I mean, it is really impressive. For how
It'd be your own people sometimes, guys. It'd be your own people.
It feels like, Save. It's like in The Wire, where Stringer always wants to go class, he wants to be by the book. It's like, we can make all these investment opportunities. Stringer wants to go straight, and Avon's like, what the hell are you talking about?
This ain't about your business class, String. It's about that other thing. Yeah.
Like Army, like, I get that, you want to go straight, you want to get these big flashy wins, but maybe just like handle business on the streets first.
That's why. That's why I think the point is, I think
Patriot League's dragging them down.
Welcome to the Cross Commission Power Hour, where we compare Army's Patriot League and non-con success, or lack thereof, to The Wire.
Yeah, and I think that just goes back around to the point I was going to try to start making. It's like, I think it's more of an early season measuring stick more than anything else. I think for Army, as you guys said, it really comes down to, can you close the deal in Patriot League play more than anything else. But yeah, good win for Army. I mean, obviously, with Syracuse off the schedule, they don't have as bulky of a non-con resume to build off of. I mean, they got Yale next week. That'll be a bit interesting to see.
Got Michigan too in a couple weeks.
Michigan too should be interesting as well. So they still got some intriguing games up ahead. But good to start off in it. Give me a second to pardon me there. Real quick, Maryland beats Loyola 19-10. I guess the question for this one is Loyola's good start in this game. I know it got out of hand in the middle portion, but Loyola hanging with Maryland at the beginning of the game. Is that something? I guess is the question I would take out of this. Maryland looked, solid like we thought they would be. A little slow to start, but everything was clicking from the middle of the second quarter onwards, so nothing too much to write home about for the Terps. Just good, solid performance that I think we're expecting for the number one team in the nation. But Loyola, good start at least. Is that something to keep an eye on going forward for the Greyhounds?
I think they're better. You'd say if I'll, let you kind of go here. I can talk about Maryland, but I think they will be a better team. That's kind of been the word kind of since coming in. I like some of what I saw. I think they'll be a better team. I just think this face-off thing is it's going on 4 years now where they just cannot find a face-off guy. And it's, as we just talked about earlier with the Jacksonville conversation, if you don't have a face-off guy, runs like this, Maryland, goes from being down 4-3 to up 14-5 very quickly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it'd be better than last year. Just a more, spirited effort. I'm thinking of that 2020 year. They kind of got blasted. Kind of did at least have a decent enough season. Got into the Patriot League tournament. Actually got just one goal away from potentially making it to the championship. But for the Patriot League tournament. But I think again, I think it's more says about Maryland. It says so much about Loyola. I think Loyola, they didn't. I think both teams, consider this a rivalry. So I'm sure Loyola
it was played like one. It was the most physical, chippy game that I have seen so far in 2020. In 2026 was this one. There were hits after some goals. There was some chirping. No, this is definitely, there was a little bit of a, there was an edge to this for pretty much all the game.
No, you can kind of feel. I was like you kind of know how many times Maryland really pour it on like this. And I think maybe that third quarter explosion, kind of wanted to send a message to the Greyhounds. I think maybe because of the spirited, testy nature of the game. But again, I think it just says more about the Terps than anything. I mean, I'm not trying to start a meme here about comparing them to the 2022 team, but the two Yale transfers, Jake. I thought maybe you're going to be starting to sport a Handsome Dan T-shirt or something. Just absolutely blew up. Dodge was pretty much everything people expected, and potentially more. And you guys have maybe a little bit better than the years where Luke Weirman was carrying the load. With Tillman giving other people a shot there. I thought it was good to spare Dodge. In terms of the wear and tear, you maybe have a pretty decent backup there as well. Trying to carry air and Rope. I thought really good in goal. Maybe a bit off in the beginning, but I think it kind of locked in. Pretty much didn't really give anything up substantially throughout the second half. And I thought I like kind of Maryland's transition game. They kind of got it goal kind of runner of those the kind of run and gun Rutgers era. Especially the quarterfinal and the Final Four running there. So yeah, I kind of got really kind of excited about watching Maryland play this year. I think it's going to be kind of fun, but also with the tough defense that they're known for, and also with the special teams of having really good face-off play. I think this is going to be a really potent team. So excited for next week's game with Syracuse, 1 versus 2 in the country. Think it's going to be a really fun year for Terps fan. And they're kind of been concerned a little bit about the offense. I think this is going to be definitely a better experience this year for a Maryland fan and wanting to see goals. I think this team's going to put up a lot of points this year. So I wouldn't put so much on like Loyola. Like I said, I do think they are going to be better. That first half was a testament to that. Obviously not getting to play their first game, but neither did Maryland. But Loyola seems to have a little bit more energy, and I think we're going to maybe see that go out throughout their year. And I think Loyola fans should expect to have a much better season than last year for sure.
I think they'll be a good Patriot League team. I think they'll be a contender to win the Patriot League. I don't really see. Again, it's just they've been a bottom 20 team in the country on faceoffs for 3 consecutive seasons now. This would be 4. And yeah, it didn't matter who was in there for Maryland. Loyola tried 4 different faceoff guys. Not great. Not exactly what I think you should be looking for if you want week 1. Dodge was 12 of 16 and Carrier was 8 of 11. So Maryland's 2 main faceoff guys were 20 of 27. After that, in the fourth quarter, Loyola won 5 against Maryland's backup guys. So I just don't think you can really be a serious kind of threat beyond that. We're now in extra time. I don't think you can really be a serious threat beyond what a decent Patriot League team if you just can't have that. I think there's some positives though. I think the offense showed some spunk. I think they've got some potential options there, some good players. Mason Cook had a hat trick. Everhart's always kind of liked what I've seen from him. Minikis went up against Schaller, so he had a goal, and that was pretty much it. On the Maryland side of it, I think when it got going, that offense was humming, and it looked it could have been they could have scored 22 or 23. It felt like when they got in the flow of the offense, every single possession was ending with a step down shot, time and room from 10, 12 yards. It got really promising there. And look, they're going to put teams in a serious. There's just going to be a pick your poison type nature about playing this team. Their 2 best players from last year combined for 2 goals and 5 assists, which is pretty dang good. That's a good, decent 2 goals, 5 assists, 2 turnovers. And then their 2 best incoming offensive players combined for 9 goals and 1 assist. Leo Johnson might be this team's best offensive player. Spanos is awesome, and I love him, Leo Johnson is a seriously dynamic guy. Loyola put a short stick on Chris Lyons to start the first half, and that changed pretty quickly. Just not going to cut it. But then you got Stovall coming behind it, the big guy. He had 2 goals. Jack Schultz didn't play at all. I thought he would be a starter first midfield. Might be hurt. But they put in Spencer Ford, ran second midfield, which was a point of debate and consternation on the Maryland boards for basically all of last year. He had 2 goals. Matt Higgins, the freshman, who I think is going to be a future superstar, he played some as well. When they really got rolling, 19 goals and 3, 4, 5, 10 of them were assisted. 10 assisted goals, 9 unassisted goals is a pretty good split.
Yeah, but we're overtime. Just 19 on 41 total shots and 31 shots on goal. That's. I was just thinking of again, not to dunk on Petra, dunk it too much, but Leo and Johnson and Lyons, 9 goals on 10 shots on goal. 14 total shots, but 10 shots on goal.
Spanos had 9 shots. He shot 2 for 9. Almost all of his shots were on goal. He put at one point he had 0 goals on 5 shots and 4 of them were on goal. They were filling up this could have been 22-23 in just a different. Max Watkinson is a really good goalie for Loyola. But I think you nailed it. 9 shots for Spanos, 8 shots for Lyons, 6 shots for Johnson, 5 shots for Stovall, 3 shots for Ford, 3 shots for AJ Larkin, the long pole, 2 shots for Gardner. Braden Erksa, Braden Erksa has taken a lot of criticism over his time, But like this could be huge for him. I mean, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 shot. He never would have had a game like that in the past. And you know, it'll be interesting to see. He got the start on attack, and Chris Lyons started at midfield. I would say I think it's fine as long. I just think Chris Lyons probably should never leave the field. I think he's just that kind of. But like, if it can work in this kind of way, where Johnson's going to obviously get a bunch, and Spanos is going to get a bunch, and they're the focal points of the offense, and then Lyons is going to be a big shooter, and Erkson can just kind of pick his spots. It could be pretty serious. But yeah, the transition was very promising as well.
3 back-to-back shots in a row. 15
like college lacrosse. This game was 4-3 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. So they scored 16 goals the last 35 minutes. I think it's going to be a hell of a game at the Dome on Friday. And I'm definitely going to have a lot.
So as we go around the schedule, just to bounce on that, Syracuse 20-2 over St. Joe's. Whew.
How many saves did this was? I looked at this at the first. I wasn't watching the game, but I looked at the stat sheet in the first half. The stats were basically identical, except Jimmy McCool had 10 saves and St. Joe's had like 1. And
so Tommy Gross had 2 saves with a 10% save percentage.
Oof.
And Jimmy McCool had 10 saves or an 83%.
Tom, listen, not to really knock on Tommy. Tommy Gross made 2 saves out of 20 shots. Listen, not to knock on the guy, but like last name being Gross for a goalie, not great. Kind of like being a safety with the last name Burns. Like it's just tough.
But I have to say, first 2 weeks of Syracuse with the early returns, like what I'm seeing, like especially on the defensive end, the BU and St. Joe's, 2 solid opponents, and I think that defense is looking better than they were heading into the season, the expectation for. I know a lot of it's buoyed by McCool's performances, but the proof's in the pudding a little bit here. That's 8 goals allowed in 2 games.
I think Syracuse defense was I guess that their defense might be as good as offense. I mean, what was it last year? Like their defense was really good. I remember we did this like when we looked at last year, like the teams that were top 10 across the board in like every category. Cuse might have been the only team in the country at one point last year. That was the case. 2025, Syracuse was 5th in offensive efficiency at 38.5%, and they finished 13th in defensive efficiency at 25.4. Though they were top 10.
I think that April stretch might have sunk them a little bit.
Lacrosse reference.
Yeah, the Cornell, Duke, UNC
stretch defensive. Yeah,
it was honest. April and in March they were at 22% adjusted defensive efficiency. It was the tournament stretch. It was the tournament really. It was
the tournament stretch too. 12, 18, and 14.
Yeah. So this defense is great. The question really is just like you can't really dodge their polls. Figueres is great. Dwan's great. They do have to replace Michael Grace as the kind of center fielder roving guy. But I mean, their defense is strong. The question is just going to be about the short stick, the D mid unit, and what. These are not the opponents who are really going to test that. We'll see more this week, Princeton. But like the base defense they have is really strong. It's been strong for since Dearna took over. I think that defense has just gotten better and better. So, but the question is going to come like about Maryland is not going to dodge Riley Figueres. They're going to pick 2 or 3 Syracuse shorties and just go at them over and over. And we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if they can hold up. If they can, I mean, that's really the only question Syracuse has, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I think, with Syracuse heading into this game, heading into next week, I think it's just a matter of can they get over that, hurdle of the Maryland. They've come close in the regular season, not in the tournament, but in the regular season, they have had 1 or 2, close calls. I think at this time is can they put together the complete 60 and not let the results of the past get in their head. So, and at the same time, can Maryland exploit what they were able to exploit in past matchups, especially in the semifinal, and go from there? So, going to be a very fun one in the Dome on Friday, to say the least.
I think St. Joe's might be a tough year. That's not taking anything away from Hughes. They lose. It's one thing to lose your coach. It's another thing to lose some
Your coach and
a lot of production. That's a team that's lost a lot of production over the last couple years. Like it's just that team is basically nothing like what it was in 2024 when they were last really good. I mean, there were some promising results for them in preseason, but I don't know. I think it could be a tough. I think it could be tough.
8-10 is. Yeah, 8-10.
Bounce back a little bit today. I mean, but
yeah,
it started bad.
It helps Richmond. It helps Richmond join the fray today too.
What happened there?
Yeah, we'll get into that in a sec. So just running over today's games: Michigan 14-7 over Marquette in the bubble. So Wolverines start the year with a win there. High Point beats VMI 19-11. VMI, I guess, too busy tweeting everyone to try and save their school. But High Point with the win there. As we said earlier at the top of the show, shout out Mercer.
A real good one.
Very solid win over Marist 13-9 today. Bellarmine wins 17-9 over Mercyhurst. Speaking of the A10, Hobart beat Canisius 13-8 in the Western New York Derby. Well, actually, no, that's Canisius St. Bonaventure. Battle of the Thruway. Denver in the Colorado Derby beats Air Force 10-2. Richmond, as you said, get their season kicked off with a 17-7 win over Robert Morris. Ohio State, Cleveland State was kind of interesting. Raised some eyebrows after that first quarter when Cleveland State led 4-2 after one. But the Ohio State defense clamps down.
15-3 the rest of the way for Ohio State after that first quarter.
Yeah, so defense clamps down and they win 17-7 when all is said and done there. UMass in an in-state matchup with Merrimack wins 16-5.
No Russell Melendez for Ohio State.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Injuries piling up.
I mean, I don't know if that's like load management type deal or an injury, but it's not. I mean, the Van Buren thing obviously is pretty devastating. But I mean, yeah, after a really good 3-1 against Detroit Mercy, you really kind of would have hoped to see him out there again. I don't know. I don't know if it was just a treated cautiously type deal on a short week, but we'll see. Ohio State need to get to that Georgetown game, which is in 3
I'll be there in person.
Yeah, need to see him in that Georgetown game.
Last night's results too. We had quite a few games last night because of everything being moved. Drexel 11-1 over Delaware. Man, the Blue Hens not having a great start. Lose to Utah, lose to Drexel with a 1 spot. They almost got shut out. Not a great start to their first season in the A10. Quinnipiac beats UMass Lowell 15-12. Queens beats Lemoyne 13-3 in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Shout out Queens.
I know Queens. That's a solid win.
1-goal win
Against Lemoyne.
Yeah, Lemoyne's not bad. Yeah,
Lemoyne's a solid win there. Monmouth with a 15-9 win over Manhattan. The best team on Long Island. We'll get to the reason why in a second. LIU 14-12 win over Mount St. Mary's. Tapping my diploma from LIU Brooklyn for the best D1 men's team on Long Island. Yes, the Stony Brook women and yes, the Delphi are better, but when it comes to D1, there's no one like the Sharks. We'll explain why in a second. Providence wins Rhode Island Derby against Bryant 16-11. So good win for Bobby Benson and the Friars. Bucknell beats St. Bonaventure 11-2. BU rebounds from that loss to Syracuse with a 23-7 win over Siena. Emotional game for the Saints in their first game since Liam Glessing's passing. Navy 17-7 win over Iona. Iona had a strong first quarter. 5-4 was the score at the end of the first, but Navy with a 6-0 and 4-0 second and third pull away to a 17-7 win in Annapolis. Duke doubles up Utah 14-7. As we were saying earlier in the show, Utah was hanging with them early, but then Duke gets on a run in the second quarter. Don't look back with a 14-7 win. As the thumbnail suggested, Fairfield having fun in the snow, sliding and beating Lehigh 14-13 in what was a pretty wacky game in its own right. And then in the Long Island Depression column, Stony Brook decides to take the ferry out to Sacred Heart and then lose 16-11 after the fact. And then in double overtime, Holy Cross beats Hofstra 9-8. Well, at least they had a PowerPoint presentation at their preseason dinner, right?
Yeah, it's not. That Fairfield-Lehigh game was... Fairfield was up 12-6, I think, like late. And then Fairfield scored... Not Fairfield, pardon me. Lehigh scored 7 in a row to take the lead 13-12. Had the ball man up in the last minute or so of the game. Couldn't cash in. And then for some God knows what reason, decides to jump into a 10-man ride on the clear with a minute left in the game and gives Fairfield a 20-yard empty net shot, and they tie it, and then Fairfield wins in overtime. I have been fully radicalized against the 10-man ride. I just cannot. The number of teams who do this, seemingly just to do it at different stages of the game, without any inkling or suggestion that they're actually good at it. You run the 10-man ride when you're good at it, when it's a potent weapon against the other team. You don't just do it to do it. Let's just go to 10-man with a minute. Just play defense. What happened to just play? What happened to just playing defense? You're up 1. Just play defense and win the game. Oh man, I can't do it, dude. I just see teams do this. Somebody else did it last week or something, and it's what? Why? What are you doing? They get Fairfield legit just the camera doesn't even show the goal. You just see a guy pull up from 25 yards and just go. And then you see the goalie scurrying past the goal trying to catch up. Speaking of, LIU scored a 100-yard goal on Friday, and the camera, the stream for LIU just totally missed it. Just never even. The commentator's I think we have a penalty here, and I think LIU got it. Oh no, I think it went in. Thanks, man. The players on the sideline are jumping up and down and they just made the Final Four. Oh man. But
yeah, I think Delaware's not in the CAA anymore, but man, don't have to worry about that so much as a Towson guy, Jake, but the other CAA teams, yeesh.
It's not good. We'll see. Drexel, Drexel kind of maybe it's a time for a good Drexel year. They kind of do this every 5, 6, 7 years, where they have a decent season kind of out of nowhere. I think it'd be good. Fairfield and Drexel could push Towson a bit in the CAA. That'd be, I think, kind of all you're asking for out of that league with where it's at. So,
we'll Hofstra and Stony Brook, it's dire on the island, man.
Hofstra is Hofstra. The care seems to have been gone.
They've made their bed ages ago.
Yeah, it's when the coaches spent the last 7 years in the summer doing the PLL instead of recruiting, what is there to say? Stony Brook, I do kind of wonder.
And when your whole bread and butter was keeping Long Island guys on Long Island, but now all of them just want to go to the South and listen to country music and be in warm weather.
And some of it's out of their control.
That's part of it too, but yeah.
Yeah, some of it's out of their control, but the degree of results is just not, they haven't been relevant. But Stony Brook, I do kind of wonder, because that was the program that made a move off a head coach who was, having winning seasons. And their last 2 years with Jim Nagel, and I spoke about this on the preview show we did. The last 2 years in the America East, they were first place in the America East. 1 year, I think they won it outright. 1 year, they might have tied it both years with Albany. But that shows you an idea of where they were, that they were towards the top of their conference, and they got rid of their coach because I think we're looking for more NCAA tournament appearances, something more akin to maybe what Seoul had there. And Ghilardi's just never really got off the ground. They've had some okay teams, but never really been relevant or in their kind of league and push for I don't think they've played in a conference championship game under him. And so I kind of wonder now. This is year. I mean, obviously, those guys who came in 2020, it's always a little difficult. This is year 7. But even if you just go from 22 onwards after the COVID seasons, this is now the 5th year. And so I do kind of wonder how they're kind of feeling there. We'll see. Again, they moved to a new league and it hadn't really changed much. I think in the CAA, they've just been kind of ordinary. Not really a factor the past couple of years.
And just before we wrap up, 2 games tomorrow. You got Colgate, Virginia as the appetizer at noon. Then, as we said earlier in the show, who needs the Olympics? Who needs the Super Bowl? You got NJIT St. John's at 5 o'clock in Flanders, New Jersey. The real main event of Sunday.
Speaking of Long Island lacrosse depression, St. John's.
Yes, they're in Queens, but trust me, as someone who commutes by there all the time, that part of Queens is basically like Western Nassau County anyway. Don't at me.
See.
All right, so if you enjoyed the Power Hour, why don't you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the noti icon from when we go live. You can connect with us as well. We're on Twitter at college_cross. Jake and I, for your Blue Sky users, dabble in some Lax talk there too. And, of course, here on the YouTube, I sound like such a boomer saying that. But on the YouTube account, we got our live shows. We posted our podcast, too. And you can subscribe to the Cross Commission podcast. This week, I'll try to make some time to join with Jake as we get set for Maryland, Syracuse. Join us next week. Saturday, got a good slate. Of course, you got Penn State, Princeton's the headliner. Virginia, Richmond should be interesting. The Ivies start. Notre Dame starts. Georgetown finally gets to start. So, going to be a fun one, of course. Friday night, you got Maryland Cuse as well. So, a lot to look forward to next week. Also, we remiss big women's lacrosse opening weekend, too, this weekend. Yeah. Northwestern, huge statement win over BC last night. 20-11, I think, was the final score of that one. So, that is a huge opening silo out of the Wildcats.
Maryland beat Cuse in the Dome. Hope it doubles up. On Friday. We'll see. Yeah, Georgetown, man. It feels like it's just been a month of hype around them, which we've obviously contributed to.
Trying to find the guy who did this.
We got Georgetown University. You got to invest in a bubble at this point with your huge endowment, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you think so? That's we'll see if they can get that game. They should have played that game Friday. I don't know why, but
yeah, they should have played a Friday, or just find a bubble somewhere in Arlington or something. There's got to be a sports.
There's got to be some prep school in DC with the facility that could take care of it.
Does Georgetown Prep have a bubble?
Between all the prep schools in DC, all the prep schools in Northern Virginia, all the prep schools in Maryland by DC, somebody's got to have a bubble. Some sports club,
I hope this is it, man. I hope next weekend is, it can be 35 degrees and no, that's fine. But I've had enough of bubbles for, one season. I give credit to everyone for the teams for figuring it out and find a way to get the games played. And some of them are, I thought the Maryland one had a real physicality and some juice to it, which was good. Some of these games though, just the stream is uncanny valley. I sometimes think the players just feel it, don't have the same intensity. It's just, it's tough. I hope we're outside from here on out.
Let me look at the 7-day forecast just for S's and G's.
Baltimore.
There's ice in the forecast, but that's Monday. Okay, they could get games in Saturday as of right now. It looks
Baltimore high of 32 and sunny next Saturday. We'll take that.
Yeah, 35 and sunny on the island. but going to be cutting it close. Looks like rain, snow the next day. So if that comes a day early, it'd be treacherous. So that might be treacherous for the Midwestern games. So. Whatever. The game of the week, Maryland Cuse is in the Dome. Don't have to worry about getting that one in. So
yep, big one, big one.
All right. So thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the week. And by the way, Super Bowl predictions before we leave, because it is Super Bowl weekend, even though I don't feel like there's absolutely no buzz to it, I guess, partially because of the Winter Olympics, partially because the matchup is very meh. Who we got?
Seattle, like 24-14, something like that.
I think that's going to win.
God.
Heading into this, I think Seattle is the much better team, but I don't know. I got bad Super Bowl 36 vibes of this. Remember, the Patriots were the big underdog against the Rams, and they found an avenue to win it. I feel like this is a type where the Patriots have an avenue to win it, and the bad old days are here again, and their defense finds a way to win. I'm going Pats.
Fucking gross.
Not happy about it.
Hope not. No, Seattle will win. It won't be pretty. Darnold will throw like 2 picks, but Seattle's defense. If New England can't run the ball on Seattle's defense, buddy, it's gonna be a bad time. All right.
And I guess lastly, the Olympics. Opening ceremonies were okay. I think much better than Paris's. Didn't go too weird, but I know Jake and I were having some thoughts as we were watching.
Some of them
too much right now.
I think we need some different sports in the Winter Olympics. I think we need I don't know what.
They should move basketball. I know they won't do it with the NBA, but I think that would work.
No, because the Summer Olympics. So the Summer Olympics is cool because it's sports that regular people actually can do. Whereas the Winter Olympics is just here's a bunch of European guys and gals just going on a all expense paid vacation.
Yeah.
I just there needs to be more. I don't know what sports can we do? Again, I'm blanking on ideas here, but Winter Olympics need some more. There's just not enough events that I'm I watched the Gold Zone all day and it was freaking curling and it was curling for most of it. That was, and then the luge.
They had a quad box is just all curling.
It was curling and then the luge and the luge is kind of the problem with the luge is it's one of those the only drama is seeing if a guy puts himself in harm's way and hits the wall. I don't feel great about watching that. The only excitement's when the guy is 10% away from maybe suffering serious catastrophic injury.
Remember in Vancouver during the training runs, the guy died.
Yeah, I know.
All of them. The ski jump.
It's the second most dangerous thing by IndyCar racing.
Peekaboo Street. The people the Sears. It's all either
maybe
kind of interesting that you watch the curling people do it, or the people who are literally putting their life on the line or jumping in the ski jump that.
The alpine skiing might be better if they're using the drones that they're using for everything. That might make the alpine skiing a better television product. We'll see. I mean, granted, NBC's is going to have picture-in-picture with Lindsey Vonn and Michaela Schifrin the entire event.
But the truth is, no one cares about the Olympic sports at all, even the summer ones, except for that 2 or 3 week period. No one actually. I love swimmers. Shout out to all the swimmers. I'm not saying, but it's not America and the other.
But the
3 years and 9 months cares about swimming, or track and field, or any of those things.
Sports rock though because that shit's awesome.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, it's I don't know if it's the thing that people care about. I think the Americans just really focus on really quickly in these 3 weeks, and we just super care about how.
I can watch I watch handball in the Summer Olympics, and I tell myself I think me and 5 of my friends could go do that. Is that correct? No, not true whatsoever. But 3-on-3 basketball. I think 3-on-3 basketball should just be us 3 against I think we should be the 3-on-3 basketball team for the Olympics. That's what I think 3-on-3 basketball should be. Like, I think it should just be like 3 guys, like just 3. There should be like open gym tryouts. It should be like king of the court.
3 guys, 3 gals.
It should be king of the court. Last one wins. Like that. The Summer Olympics is great for that. The Winter Olympics is like, I mean, I don't know, man.
You got the hockey tournament.
I can't figure skate, dude. Like, which makes it incredibly impressive. But once I get past them, man, dang, they're really good. It's like I don't really know what I'm here for anymore. I mean, like the skiing is kind of like, like it. Once you see someone do it, it's kind of like, I don't know.
See, I come from the X Games generation, so snowboarding.
Oh, me too. Cool. Snowboarding's cool. The ski jump is kind of cool. The snowboarding's pretty cool. But like, how many times can I watch someone do the ski jump? Like, it's, I don't know.
It's all just time trials. I guess obviously you can't all ski at once because it's just dangerous. And
maybe that's what we need to do.
I thought of that before. I was like, but like once you have like 3 and then have different heats and then like the final heat where like the fastest of those 3 and then they all go because I think
they do have ski board. Yeah, they do have ski cross, but it's only like 4 at a time on like a course. It's not like a straight downhill one.
Like that's kind of interesting. Like. And like you can like elbow the guy like next, like that's I think that's intriguing.
The insurance liabilities would be through the roof, but it'd be entertaining as hell.
Like
we already launched them into like hundreds of meters in the air, like for the speed.
I mean, you already got short track speed skating, which is literally a NASCAR race at Bristol on ice.
But those are like what people are interested because it's an objective thing, like who gets to the finish line first.
Yeah.
Like I think with the Winter Olympics, it's like there's the ones that are just. Who's going to risk their life the most, like either the ski jumper, who's going to go down the hill the fastest and like not care about their life, or spurling kind of thing. I think the ones that have like the artistic angle where like it's subjective and there's a judge, and like I think like that takes away. Like I think, especially Americans, like I think we like an objective thing or like decide who's going to win. Like
judges, yeah.
What if like they did the short track speed skating? But they put everyone out there at the same time. Like, and it was like, I think that's kind of interesting. I think we're working with something there.
They do that for long track now. I think they introduced that in Beijing was like,
hang on now.
Mass.
Like,
now we're cooking.
What if they did relays with the short like speed skating?
They do relays in the short
They do?
track.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. What if they did like a relay, like one relay is like they like a medley, like we're like one could go for like 100 meters, then one goes for like 500 meters, and then one goes for like 1,000. Like that's now I think we're working with something. I think that's kind of interesting. I think the Olympics in general should have more sports. Like I think dodgeball should be in the Olympics. Like why not? I think that's like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, LA, you're gonna have lacrosse, you're gonna have flag football, you're gonna have.
Yeah, I mean. I think the Olympics
should have had the darts in the London Olympics.
There should be as many things as possible in the Olympics to make you watch it and be like, I could do that. Could I? Probably not, but like
Lards.
like that's it's interesting.
Get some snooker.
I mean, why shouldn't darts be in there? I mean, they do the
the World Championship
things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do the shooting. Yeah,
great point.
It's only going bigger and bigger as a sport now. I mean, they sell out the theater at Madison Square Garden with that.
Yeah, so,
Trust me, I'm there. All right, I think we're getting way too in the weeds here.
Yeah, so, I think
thank you all for watching. We're just doing at Cosgrove.
We got to put it in the algorithm, though, and then Simmons is going to hear it, and then just like our lacrosse ideas, like the college lacrosse movies.
Ice lacrosse.
Ice lacrosse. Now we're cooking. Yeah, this is just a backstage conversation that we've been having for 15 minutes on air.
All right, so thank you all. Stay hydrated. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We'll see you out there.
Shout out to Washington Post.
Let's see.